It's Alexander, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I have a very special treat for you. I am making a full outfit. Now, as you may know what's happening in the world with the Rona happening and people doing things at home, a lot of people are doing home workouts. Clearly, I am not doing a home workout, but I thought if I wanted to do a home workout, I should probably have a home workout outfit. Why not? So, for this today, I'm going to make a sweatshirt and some shorts. The sweatshirt we're going to make is my old favorite, Mccall's M7841, and we're going to do view A here. Now, if you see me do this sweatshirt several times in my other videos, links are below. For the shorts, I'm going to tell you right now, this is only the second time I've made these shorts. They are Butterick 6893, and we are wrong way. We are doing these ones here. Oop, there. The full, let's be honest, we're going for a full Tom Selleck, hopefully. So with that, we're going to do these two patterns. This one here is a staple. This one I bought off eBay many years ago and just never made it. I thought it was kind of sassy. I think it's from the 80s. It could be older than I am. I was born in 82. So well, hopefully this works. And so we'll make these two into some sort of outfit. Now, as I said, this is a vintage pattern. So that means sometimes the instructions are a little bit more convoluted than something like this. You will see me struggle-ish through them. At least I struggled the first time. And if you follow me on Instagram or any of those sort of social medias, you've seen me make these shorts. Inserting photo here. And they turned out okay. Now I have adjusted them more to what my body type is. So hopefully this turns out. Random fact. Eagle-eyed viewers would have noticed this is from my other video, how to spruce up a stained hoodie from Wish. The link will be up in this corner if you want to watch that video. I should start off by saying that I am going to be doing this tracksuit in this heather gray French terry. Also for this project, we're going to need elastic, some sort of drawstring, cutting utensils, clearly a sewing machine, and you will need bias tape. So let's just, again, get started with the cutting. Cutting is first. We're going to start cutting. As usual, here I am, laying out my pattern pieces on my dining room table. Pinning everything down, making sure that everything is on grain. As this is a garment, I have pre-washed the fabric. Important. I always pre-wash fabric that is going to be made into a garment. When I'm doing a quilt, no, what's the point? When it's a garment, I want to make sure those fabric pieces are pre-shrunk, or at least pre-washed as any sort of color issues. As you can see, my teapot is there holding everything in place. I don't really have pattern weights, and let's be honest, my dining room table is not the greatest cutting surface, but it does work. You're also probably asking yourself, hey, Alexander, those are white pattern pieces, and most of the time, in a pattern, they're brown tissue. Well, I trace out all my pattern pieces. Why? Because then I can make adjustments. It's a lot easier on the paper that I'm using, opposed to the tissue. Tissue rips, tissue gets gross. Plus also, I can make any notes on the paper I'm using. This means I can remind myself of things later. Also, when cutting, remember to clip out all the notches. Notches are key. You can use those for reference points later if you need to make any adjustments or add trim. Cut out the notches. You may not think they're important. They are important. Just like the top, I made a duplicate pattern with my pattern tracing paper and pinned it down. Again, I made my adjustments to my body. I'm starting with the sweatshirt body here and only doing the shoulder seams right now, including serging them, and I'll show you why in a second. What I am doing is tacking down first the freshly serged seam to the back of the garment. Now I am pinning the bias tape over top of that seam, making it invisible, making sure that it's fully folded, using a 1/8 inch seam allowance on either side to sew it down, again using black thread with the black bias tape. I'm creating a full look here, people, full look. Now I'm just sewing up the side seams and serging. Now with the bias tape, we are going to go from the top shoulder notch all the way down to the cuff notch. Again, this is where notches become important. We're also now just going to sew again with an 1/8 inch seam on either side of the bias tape. Once that is done, just close up the sleeve seam and serge along, and it's done. Sleeves. As you may know, I hate setting in sleeves. Hate it. Use lots of pins. Do your best. Serge where you can. Cuffs are fairly straightforward to make. Just follow the instructions of the pattern and just use your triple stitch all the way through. Matching the notches on the hems and the bodice of the garment. Just pin and sew all the way around, again using a triple stitch. A triple stitch is your friend. Once all the hem pieces and cuffs are on, I like to take it to the serger and serge off the excess. Speaking of professional, I always top stitch a 1/4 inch away from the hem on the sleeves, the cuff, and as you can see here, it turns out so beautifully. As you can see from the effort we put in, the bias tape runs from the collar all the way to the cuff and matches at the sleeves because we matched up the notches. See? Notches are important. From all our effort, it is turned out beautifully. Now we're just gonna continue on with the rest of our project. Now that our top is finished, the sweatshirt portion, we're gonna move on to the shorts. That's right, I've only made these shorts once before. This will be the second time, so it's gonna be a journey. I'm starting with the pocket because it seems like the easiest place to start. I also had to go back to the instructions to make sure I was doing things correctly. Again, these instructions were slightly vague. Now when making a pocket, particularly this pocket, you need to turn out some corners. Please don't use your scissors like I'm doing. I couldn't find my point turner. There, one square-ish pocket. Now, when cutting out the pattern pieces originally, I marked with some water-soluble pen where the pockets are supposed to go, or at least the pocket is supposed to go. I'm pinning it down profusely because I do not want it to move. And it looks like it's pinned down pretty well, and now I'm just going to stitch 1/8 of an inch away from the edge all the way around, excluding the top, obviously. One pocket. Seems to work fine. My hand goes in. Seems like a pocket. As with most shorts, or pants, you're going to meet the crotches first and sew those. I sewed those together on both the pieces, then serged those edges, and then met them up together again to serge them back. It was time to sew the middle seams of the front and back together, again using a triple stitch, following the pattern instructions and matching up the notches. Once that was finished, again serging to give a nice professional look. What I had left with is now something that resembles some sort of butterfly. So as you can see, the middle seam and the crotch seams are now sewn together. This, for me, is where the pattern got a little tricky, using a long basting stitch of 6. I'm also sewing these wrong sides together. This is important, and you'll see why later. Okay, so let me be honest. The struggle was real when I tried to get the bias tape on. That's why you see me faffing around about with pins and removing things and just trying to get it to lay flat. Don't worry, I did do it. Again, take your time. I started from the back. You always want to start from the back and work your way to the front on these shorts, or at least it says on the pattern that you should do it that way. I have opened up the bias binding and pinned on the inside so that it wraps around to the front. It seems very complicated. If you are making shorts like this, you may find a different method, but just be slow and steady. As you can see, I got everything pinned, starting from the back to the front. There's that stay stitching I put in the tacking. There's 2 flaps on the side. You are going to want to push one of those flaps back. The back piece, you are going to want to push back. Start on the front, and you're going to stitch in that little ridge or ditch that the bias tape has. Go slowly, again, stitching in that little ditch, manipulating the bias tape around the curves of the shorts, hopefully not sticking yourself with any pins. The bias tape will go all the way around. Now that you have all the bias tape sewn on, you're going to want to flip it over to the other side. Probably not the best video right here, but you'll get the idea in a minute. See, there you go. Since I sewed the bias tape to the front, we're going to flip it around to the back and pin. This is where we're going to trim that side seam. Right from the start of the bias tape, about 1/8 of an inch away from your tack stitching, and all the way up. Only on one side, the back side. The front side you leave because you've sewn, obviously, your bias tape to that. you want to fold the bias tape over that non-trimmed edge and then pin it down flat onto the back. Just like the sleeves before, we're going to use an 1/8 inch seam allowance and stitch all the way around. Note where the two pieces, the front and the back, curve to meet. I went across and then started going down the other side. When you get to the other side, you do the exact same thing and it closes off everything. And finished. Now, with that, as you can see, it's nicely top stitched all the way around. Right there is where I went across the side. And you can't even see those stitches. So good. Now, once you have done that to both sides of the shorts, you're going to take out those tacked stitches or basting stitches along the sides of the short. Serging the top? Yes. Why? Because when we fold this in for the waistband, it gives a cleaner, less frayed look. If it does fray or whatever fabric you're using might fray. Again, a cleaner look. Now, the elastic I am using is 1.5 inches wide. What I am doing here is measuring down at critical points, the two front seams and the side seams, 1.75 inches. This, when I sew, means it will give a nice little tight casing for the elastic. I am just using pins for the markings. You could use a pen if you really wanted to. Now you might think, drawstrings? The pattern doesn't call for drawstrings. Well, guess what? I'm putting them in. I like a short with a drawstring, and so this is an added option you do not have to do if you are going to follow along when making these shorts. To make the holes, I just basically measured out 1/2 inch on either side of the side seam within the waistband casing area, and then used my buttonhole on my machine and made some buttonholes. Easy peasy. As you can see here, I am adding interfacing behind where I need to stitch for the buttonholes for the drawstrings. You will need to do this if you are using a very stretchy material. It gives more stabilization to the sewing machine and your thread and your stitching when putting buttonholes in. Note to self, the clover iron took forever to get hot. Blah. I forgot to video me making the buttonholes. Oh well. Now I just need to sew all the way around with a 1/4 inch seam. As you can see, I brought out my elastic every so often to make sure that the casing I was making was going to be wide enough for the elastic. You don't want the elastic twisting or bunching inside the casing. Remember, you're using a triple stitch here because you are using a stretchy material. Also, note, in the back I left about a 3-inch opening so that I could insert the elastic. Start off by measuring how much elastic you need. Some people like really tight waistbands, some don't. I like medium looser waistbands, and then that's why I have a drawstring. Huzzah! Once you have the waistband all sorted out for the elastic, next you're going to add a pin or something large to one end, and you're going to feed it through. Feed it through that opening in the back all the way around. Be gentle here. You don't want to rip or pop any of the seams, and you don't want the elastic to start twisting on you inside the casing, because that's a whole other kettle of fish that you do not want to fry. Once the elastic comes out the other side, you're going to want to pin the two pieces together and then start smoothing the casing around, as I'm doing here, pulling slightly, making sure nothing twists inside. Once you have all the elastic through and nice, you're going to want to sew about 1.5 to 2 inches. You're going to want to have this sewn with, I guess, right sides together of the elastic, so it opens up to like a book. As you can see here, I'm just triple stitching it down the center there again, about 2 inches away from the edges of the elastics. Once you have the elastic all in, you can just adjust slightly by tugging at the waistband to make sure everything lies nice and flat. It also means you can sew up that hole in the back where you put the elastic through. Before you sew up that opening though, it's always good to add a size label or your own personal clothing label so you know which way is round, or which way is right, or which size you bought, or what size you made. Very similar to the elastic, cut your tie to the length that you wish, and then using a pin, gently taking it all the way around inside of the casing. For my tie, I am using black twill tape, cotton twill tape. It's what I had available. Once everything's done, you can just do a dry fitting like I have, and look at that, some cute little shorts. As I'm using twill tape, I am folding the edges over once and then folding in half just to make it a little easier to hide those raw edges. Just stitching about 1/8 inch away from the edge. This keeps everything nice, closed, and tight. And there we go. I'm just going to put a nice little bow onto here. And I think my shorts almost look finished. Let me know what you think they're doing right now. Do they look good? Would you wear them? So there you go, a full homemade workout outfit, or going out and impressing your friend's outfit. Comment below if you like this outfit, if you want to see me make more of these sorts of outfits, or you just like me in general. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the little bell icon over there so you get notifications about when my new videos come out. If you have any questions, please let me know. And if not, bye now. Thanks for following along.